Okay, my friends, quick little discussion today about evolution. Somebody sent me this video, so take a look at it. It's about evolution, see what you think. And this guy here is, I did quickly go through it and looked at it, and he seems, as a pretty good scientist. However, I think he needs to do a little deeper looking. He does understand that evolution from slime to everything that exists it's just not compatible with reality. And all of these things are species that were created from some grand plan. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to think this is insane, but I think bacteria does 100% of everything. Without bacteria, you're done. You're going to fall over dead within a couple of seconds, literally. It does everything in your body. Bacteria does 100% of everything in your body. Chemistry happens, absolutely. Just like people pick up the trash, they deliver stuff, they build products, they create soup, they feed things. That's what people are doing. It doesn't just happen by itself. And exactly identical inside of creatures. And every plants, animals, I don't care what it is. Not a single thing would happen unless there was bacteria in there to coordinate that activity. And that bacteria is so specific that it only creates one product. All right? In us, we have a system that coordinates all of my hand moves, my eyes go, my arms do this, my muscles pull in, my mind starts thinking, my eyeballs shift up and down, my focus squints. All of that is a coordinated sectional group of activities. In bacteria, they have done. Well, what is it? Eyes went this way. That's it. That's all I do. I make the eyes go this way. Well, there's another bacteria that makes the eyes go that way. Basically, it's that kind of thing. But one of them makes a certain chemistry. One of them makes a certain mucus. One of them makes, and they are mucus in all the different areas. The stuff that's in your eyes that's wet is basically a mucus. It's in your nose, it's a different mucus. It's in your throat, it's in your stomach, it's in your intestines, it's in your bowels, it's in your rectum, it's everywhere, but it's a mucus. And it has a little bit of a different chemistry. Why? Because it's a different bacteria. And that bacteria has to live there to do its job. And if it's not healthy, that section of your body will not be healthy because the bacteria that creates that one specific product is not going to be able to create it. That's what they're finding out now. All right, now I did a video on this the other day about the programming that happens in your body, in your DNA. And the DNA is reprogrammed every time you have something happen to you. 98% of your DNA is not structural that they know of. They call it junk DNA because everybody's is different. Yours is different than mine. Mine is different than my brother's, my mother's, my sister's, or everybody's. Now, however, the key to this understanding this is that when identical twins are born, their junk DNA is identical at birth, identical. So what does that tell me? It tells me that they're inheriting DNA from their parents, and that DNA has been restructured through their parents' life, depending upon what they encountered and immunities and so forth, is built into these junk DNA sections. So they're still totally different than anybody else's. And they come out, everybody's is different, except the two identical twins. Now, when they are born, one goes this way, one goes that way, they start to encounter different things, the junk DNA gets different. Now, I believe that's actually where your memories and everything else is stored. Because think about this. 98% of the DNA in that helix they say it's junk. It doesn't do anything. Well, obviously, if I'm right, that is where your memories are stored, where your emotions are worked out. Let's put it that way. There's sections there like chunks of programs, and we used to call them PROMs, programmable read-only memories. I used to do this for a living, and we had chips that you could take a little piece of mask off of the chip, flush it out with ultraviolet light, and then reprogram it, put the mask back on, and you can't change that program. It's a read only what we just programmed in as the memory. I had a burner and everything. I had a ultraviolet light that flushed all the program out. You put it in a chip burner, you tell the program you want, bzzz, it loads the program, you plug the chip in like one of these. Only much bigger. This is a little driver chip. But the little chips, and you plug them in, and they were all programmed to do whatever you wanted to do. But that's all they would do. That's what these CPG islands are, in my mind. They're supposed to be locked down. They call it methylation. And once they're methylated, they really don't change. I believe that's what my belief is at this point. I'd like to have somebody challenge me on that and prove me wrong. And they just keep changing dependent upon what you're exposed to. Exactly like this COVID thing. Once you get immune to it, and that section of a CPG island will recognize from a sniffer bacteria, because everything's done with bacteria, don't forget. That's my claim right now. If you don't have the bacteria to go out and sniff and find out if you got problems, you're going to be invaded. You can't help. Nothing you can do. If you go out and sniff it and come back and say, hey, we got a problem, and they say, oh, what's the problem? And you say, well, we got a COVID down here. Oh, we know all about that, or we don't know about it. If they don't know about it, you're going to be invaded, and before you can fight back, you may die if you're so heavily invaded. But it has to find a pathway in. And that is also done by bacteria because it slimes the surfaces and it creates mucus and also invasive, attack chemistry, let's put it that way. So your membrane is here. The COVID's out here. It wants to get in. You're breathing it. It's in your. The molecules are coming in. Well, that slime is here and it can't get through. Well, you're good to go. You cough it out, and 99% of it goes. You may get a little bit of an attack, but if you just get a little bit of an attack, it's just like having a. It's just like having a vaccine. It really is identical to having a vaccine. If you get a tiny attack, that is basically a vaccine. Your body has time to fight back, create a program that says, hey, if you see this thing come in, man, pow, slap it down with this particular chemistry package. And that is all done by the bacteria again. So for my thinking, we are evolving as a set of bacteria. And that bacteria programs the chips. And the chips are the DNA. And the DNA gets passed on. So that is evolution. But we didn't turn into a seal or a walrus or anything like that. That's another part of the program that is the structural part. That's the 2% that says, here's how I'm going to build this human being. Somebody programmed that somewhere. Maybe some of the bacteria is doing it. Something happened there somewhere. And I'm saying literally nothing in your body would happen right at this instant if it wasn't for bacteria. Not a single thing as far as I'm concerned. The chemistry happens just like I said, just like it does in a chemistry lab. But if you throw all the chemistry in there and you just look at it, nothing's going to happen. Somebody's got to go out and do something with it. That's the bacteria. All right, love your bacteria. All right, I won't drag you through all the details, but this is a study from April 2019, identification of DNA, this is the double helix, methylated CPG islands is associated with gene silencing in the adult body tissue of some kind of chicken. And it's a lot of chemistry after that. But the key to take away from this is we're talking about this specific process of locking it down. And what it is you have basically binary codes. You say this is going to lock down, and once it's locked down, that's the program, case closed. And that's what this DNA does, methylation does. It locks down these CPG islands to be a certain ROM, read-only program memory. That's it. It's in there, and it's locked down. Then it goes to the next CPG island. That's why they're all crazy. And yours is different than mine, and mine is different. I have all kinds of different emotions and experiences and all of that than you. So obviously they're going to be different. And it just seems like it takes on another section of the program. Exactly the kind of chips we had before. They had like sections in there that you could program to do anything you wanted. And you could actually open the sections up so they used a lot more than some of them were just limited to certain blocks of program code you could put in there because that's all you needed. But other ones had to be huge. Like, they could talk about 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, 128-bit. That's all that extended programming capacity within 1 bit. It's anyway, I believe that's maybe what's going on with evolution on the bacterial scale. Because everything is, at this point, I'm telling you, as far as I'm concerned, none of this would happen without bacteria going down there and locking that in. Why would it methylate by itself? Why would it do that? I mean, you're going to have experiences and so forth, and you're going to have things, but I think your bacteria plays a part in that programming of that experience. Why would you feel something different, just because, everybody thinks your body just does it. I don't think your body does anything at all. At this point, I don't think your body just has any function whatsoever. 100% of it is done by the bacteria interacting with its environment. Whether it's inside the body, creating food or taking out the trash or bringing in some oxygen or whatever it does, making a muscle work or, creating a new life. It's all in that program, CPG Islands. So here's another one. Epigenomics, the science of no longer junk DNA. Why it's not junk DNA. And this talks about the methylation of the CPG Islands. And this goes back to 2013. Now, I went to Johns Hopkins, online, for genomics, just to understand what their concept of it was. And it's a program. There's no question about it. It's a program. And it's a very complicated program, very complex. A lot of just think about this, as I probably mentioned before, only 2% of that DNA strand makes every bit of your body structure and builds it and knows how to make it work correctly if all of those little programs are in the right place. And just think of how much programming that is. I have an anatomy book here that I showed the other day. I probably should show you again, because if you don't understand the complexity of the human body, you just can't understand how unbelievable life is, literally. It's just stunning. All right, I'm just going to leaf through this quickly, but this is how amazingly stunning the human body is. The organs. And these are all going to be almost identically positioned in everybody, exactly the same. No difference whatsoever. All of that anatomy, all of those blood vessels, all of those arterial spots, all of the organs, all of that complexity. Look at that. Nobody understands this unless you really dig in deep and you really look. This is the heart. These are sections of the heart, how the heart muscle works, and all the aorta and the valves and the ventricles and the heartstrings. And it's stunning, absolutely stunning. Look at all the lungs and how the alveoli work, and I went through all of it. I mean, very deeply, because this is all. You could find all of this stuff if you know what to look for in the mud fossils, which I have. And even like all of these different, I highlighted all of it with whatever these are, microvilli, duodenal mucose produces secretin. This is where your mucus is in your bacteria. Stimulates the pancreas and liver, All right, you think this just happened by accident from slime just saying let's create a bunch of this stuff by itself? I don't think so. That's not what I would believe. Absolutely not. I wouldn't go with that at all. Look at that. Isn't this just stunning? And when I find the different mud fossils, I can actually see them exactly in their formation, like the bones, and I have bones and all that stuff that are just exactly like these. Well, here's one right here. Right? They're in all different places in your body. And this is in one that had locked up against another bone. The muscles are just, look at this. All of these has tendons and muscles and abrupt transitions and ligaments and tendons, and you see the abrupt transitions everywhere. I talk about all this stuff. You see the muscles that are in your body? It's just unbelievable. It's absolutely staggering to look into this deeply. And, very few people do. And doctors don't look as deep into this as this book. Just this one book. If you read, and I did, I read the entire book, cover to cover, and this was in the fire, you see this? It was open in the fire when I had a fire here. Anyway, it's stunning what we are made of. All right, this is Seeker, and this is about your textbooks are wrong. This is what cells actually look like. And he's going to show 3 types of bacteria. Well, maybe 2. But one of them is a sniffer that goes out and looks for issues to report on, and then the report sends back to some other bacteria to get a whole bunch of stuff to go out and create mucus or break down food or whatever it is that it's being told to do. And that's what these bacteria do. And they live in these immune cells. And these are little tiny cells in your body that create all of this stuff. And there is trillions and trillions and trillions of them. So here he goes. Now listen.
Remember the moment. It's something I will never forget. The hair on my hands just stood up. It's a microscopic universe within each cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world.
You already said a microscopic universe within each cell. So this is tiny, 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 tiny.
Where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed 2 classes of them.
3 of them, 3 classes of them. So here's one that doesn't eat anything, but it's always sniffing around for problems.
One was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of slouching around with a lot of food in its belly.
When he says a lot of food in its belly, that could be mucus, that could be some type of an enzyme or a catalyst or whatever it was required to attack whatever's trying to attack you primarily. That's what the immune cells do. Now, they also, similar cells create enzymes and catalysts that go and break down your food. And these things are going through your digestive system. Same sort of stuff.
We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze the contents of each of these cellular compartments in this crawling immune cell as it's kind of scooping up its environment. I mean, that is a level of details no one's seen before.
We're living in
a whole new universe. So anyway, that is what's really happening. I believe everything in you is bacteria, and all of that other stuff is just structure. It's all fluid, it's all highways, it's all structure, it's all relationships between different factories to make different products. All right, this is extremely interesting. Probiotics, what you need to know. What are probiotics? Well, they are your life. And down here it goes, learn about the microbiome. The community of microorganisms that lives on us and in us is called the microbiome. That is literally everything that does anything. The rest is strictly structural. It's a hot topic for research. The Human Microbiome Project, supported by the National Institute of Health, from 2007 to 2016, played a key role in this research by mapping the normal bacteria that live in and on the healthy human body. I haven't seen anything. I'd love to see that research. With this understanding of the normal microbiome as the basis, researchers around the world, including many supported by the National Institute of Health, are now exploring the links between changes in the microbiome and associated to various diseases. They're also developing new therapeutic approaches designed to modify the microbiome to treat disease and support health. It's probiotics. Now, listen to this. The National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health is among the many agencies funding research on the microbiome. Researchers supported by this group are studying the interactions between components of food and microorganisms in the digestive tract. What types of bacteria break down what types of foods, and what are the interactions? Absolutely, they should be. The focus is on the ways in which diet microbiome interactions may lead to the productions of substances with beneficial health effects. Yes, all the different chemistry in your body has to be created by these microorganisms. So you need the right kind of food, and then you need the right kind of microorganism, and then you're good to go. Now, it says, what has science shown about the effectiveness of probiotics for health conditions? Now here's what they come down. Probiotics have shown promise for a variety of health purposes, including prevention of antibiotic-associated diarrhea, Clostridium difficile, one of the worst things that you can get, preventing necrotizing enterocolitis, that's dying of your colon and so forth, and sepsis, which is deadly in premature infants, treatment of infant colic, treatment of periodontal disease, induction of maintenance or remission in ulcerative colitis. It's all invasive things that are getting past where these bacteria are supposed to be there. You have to put the bacteria back. Now listen to this. They just talked about, oh, they know where all this bacteria is now and they have a good basis for understanding it. They do not. It says, however, in most instances, we still don't know which probiotics are helpful and which are not. We also don't know how much of the probiotic people would have to take or would be most likely to benefit them. Even for the conditions that have been studied the most, researchers are still working toward finding the answers to these questions. What are they studying? How could you not get some kind of an answer for this stuff? I have seen no answers whatsoever. And if these probiotics, there's a statement out by the National Institute of Health that says it's effective in the treatment and prevention of COVID-19. And all frontline health care workers should be taking them. Anybody that's really serious should be taking them. Any workers that are out among the public should be taking probiotics. I haven't heard one single word about probiotics from any source whatsoever. Not from the news, not from the National Institute of Health, not from the CDC, not anybody on TV or government or anybody. And they say, and I can tell you one thing right now, I don't care if they vaccinate you or not. If your probiotics are not working in your microbiome, you're going to be sick. I don't care. It doesn't matter how many times they shoot you up. You may not get COVID again. Maybe it'll protect you from COVID, but you're going to be open for invasion of just about anything. So probiotics, I would say, do your own looking, but if you not taking them, you're in danger of being invaded. If you have any kind of digestive disorder whatsoever, and if you look at any disease there is and then put in following that disease, I don't care what it is, acne, diabetes, anything, and then follow it by an digestive disorder, it will say, if you have that disease, it causes this issue in your gut. No, it's exactly the opposite. The gut issue causes the disease because you don't have the product, or you cannot attack the things that are trying to attack you. Simple as that. All right, this is fabulous. I'm telling you, manifest destiny. You are immune against every disease. And why is that? Bacteria. And this is what he's going to get into. Now, this is, again, it's you are immune against every disease. This is Kirstigerten in a nutshell. And hopefully you can see that. So if you want to come up and watch the whole thing, it's very good. I'm just going to do the introduction because it points to the fact that literally everything that happens in you is bacteria related. Now, watch this. Here goes. It's very, very good. It's only 11 minutes and 45 seconds long. Here goes. I'm only going to play a short while, though.
You're not a person. You're a planet made of roughly 40 trillion cells. There is so much of you that if your cells were human-sized, you'd be as big as 20 Mount Everests.
Something I want you to know, that every single cell has a membrane. Every single layer between every single muscle and fiber and tendon and organ and everything has a membrane. That membrane has bacteria in it. That bacteria is in that membrane. It's called membrane-bound bacteria, and it lives there to protect the contents of the membrane. It only allows the good stuff in. It keeps the bad stuff out. It takes the trash out. It brings the good stuff in. That is, the bacteria is the worker.
For your creepy crawly inhabitants, this makes your body an ecosystem, rich in resources and warmth and space. A perfect place to move into and have a family. While some of these guests are welcome, most are not. Your immune system is the guardian of this planet, the force tasked with protecting yourself against the constant danger of invasion.
All right, not only does it protect you against the invasion, it creates the food for you. It creates all of the different products, and of course they're going to talk about the mucus and the chemistry and the catalysts and the enzymes and all that. But in addition to that, it does all the structural, it builds things using the chemistry and the chemistry sets, and it delivers them and picks them up, and it's just an amazing diversity of species of bacteria. And if they're all not working, you're going to have some form of an issue. Now, that's why they call them pre-existing conditions. They might not have this whole set is not there of these bacteria, and COVID comes in and says, oh, look at that, there's nobody there. Case is closed for you. And probiotics and a correct immune biosystem, the biotics in your immune system, if they're not right, you're not going to be healthy. And the better they are, the healthier you are. That's why people exist. They're okay, but they're sick. And this is what they're talking about right here. This is a very good video.
Unfortunately, your enemies in the tiny world have a huge advantage.
All right, I'm going to leave it at that. But this is the place, Krishnasgat in a nutshell.